nothing is more fun than a good old-fashioned beef. There's professional jealousy left and right. Cam Newton is starting to let his professional jealousy creep in. What Drake Maye do other than be white? Pump the brakes before this turns into a permanent embarrassment for freaking Cam Newton. Things going on in this world, but nothing is more fun than a good old-fashioned beef. Let's take it out. Let's check it out. Let's talk about it. Cam Newton. Cam Newton is starting to let his professional jealousy creep in. Now, those of you that don't know who Cam Newton is, back in the day, terrific quarterback, did one of the greatest things I've ever seen, led Auburn to a national championship, despite the fact that the media was hounding him every single step of the way. And by the way, this show is presented to you by Prize Picks. He then became an NFL MVP, and now he wears a dumbass hat on a ridiculous show on ESPN. The former MVP, though, he's turned talk show armchair general. He spent a few weeks dragging Drake Maye. What Drake Maye do other than be white? Now, Drake Maye's white, so these guys got to crush him. That's all Drake Maye did. He's been terrific. But there's professional jealousy left and right. And now another former player, Heisman Trophy winner, second pick in the NFL draft, Robert Griffin III, is telling him, hey, pump the brakes. Pump the brakes before this turns into a permanent embarrassment for freaking Cam Newton. Well, it kind of already has. Listen to this. This is Cam Newton on Drake Maye.
Game manager. When we're talking about the descriptions of tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, Drake Maye is well and capable, has all the upside and skill set. But last year, under his player's status, a head coach was fired. That's not to say, oh man, you can't say that. That wasn't all Drake Maye. He was a young quarterback. But does Gerard Mayo have a job right now?
No, he's out of a job.
Offensive coordinator was Alex Van Pelt. Is he an offensive coordinator anywhere in this league?
Not a coordinator.
Thank you. Now insert Mike Vrabel. Now insert a dynamic play caller in Josh McDaniels. The system is right. So I can't just sit up here and say Drake Maye is a game changer right now because we've only had one season of dynamic play. Well, Cam, you only really had one. Brother, let's not go there. You wasn't even like that. Insert the gif of Cam Newton in a Super Bowl. I understand that, and they will not understand this. What I'm telling you is the truth. The person that's delivering the truth you may not like, but guess what? Make sure you like, share, comment. Most of all, make sure you subscribe for more content. But to answer your question, Drake Maye is a game manager.
Yeah, I don't really care what Cam Newton says because he's acting there. Like, I've been around the African-American community enough to know when dudes are acting. He's just simply acting. I mean, that's not real. There's nothing real about any of these clowns on TV, and good for him. If that's what he thinks, then good. But the truth of the matter is that's just acting. And when you got guys like Cam Newton, they don't have enough pride in what they do to go research, to go look. So his premise is that as a rookie, Drake Maye got a coach fired who was clearly in over his head. Now, I get it. He threw in Van Dyke, who's white. But if that coach was white, the head coach, he wouldn't care even a little bit. I mean, let's just call it what it is. I mean, these guys are dumbasses. But they're not dumbasses. They're smart. Because, frankly, wearing a goofy hat, making idiotic statements as an African-American former NFL player gets you paid. It does. I mean, let's just be honest. See, they haven't talked about black quarterbacks. Jason Whitlock, an African-American, by the way, said, you're not really hearing these clowns, he called his words, not mine, Cam Newton and others, talking about black quarterbacks. The record of black quarterbacks is 91-37, and I guess that's 2. Now, how about that? No, I get it. I understand it. We all understand it. By this point, if you don't understand the racism that guys like Cam Newton participate in, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, look, it's every day, so we have become numb to it. I'm not sure any prominent white broadcasters even bothered responding to what Cam Newton had to say because it's just gibberish and stupid. It's typical. It's typical racism. It's typical I'm going to hate on Whitey, and we've all seen it a million times. So no white guy. White guys are like, yeah, whatever, man. That's just the way it is. But good for Robert Griffin III. Robert Griffin III stood up and said this about Cam Newton.
Cam Newton hates Drake Maye.
Oh my gosh.
The floor is yours.
Listen, like, this is so sad to me because Cam's my guy.
Yeah.
You know, we compete against each other in OT7. You know, I always want to see other guys get into the media game and have success. And I think Cam, in some ways, is missing the mark here. Cam has recently come out and said that Drake Maye is not a game changer, but he's a game manager. And if you remember last year, Cam, you know, got a lot of play for the game changer, game manager thing when he was talking about Brock Purdy. And then I believe, like, every game-changing quarterback knows how to manage a game. Every game manager has to find a way to make game-changing plays. Yep. When you look at Drake Maye, he is a game changer. But in that movie, the point of the movie is never meet your heroes, because sometimes your heroes don't turn out to be the person that you think they are. And that's what I see here with Cam Newton and Drake Maye. Drake Maye loved Cam Newton.
Yeah.
He did his celebration on one of his touchdowns with the Superman chest opening it up. And I'm not saying that guys being a fan of you means you can't break down their play or be constructively critical about what they're doing right or doing wrong. But it feels like every time Cam has talked about Drake, he's trying to tear him down unnecessarily.
You ever walk into a bar and see your friends at restaurant, dinner party, maybe hanging out, and two of your buddies are arguing about something so stupid that you don't even bother? That's what this is between Cam Newton and RG3. I mean, who gives a rat's ass? Game manager, dynamic player. I mean, who really? It's the dumbest argument ever by dumb people. Just win. That's all. Just win. I don't care if you're a game manager. I don't care if you're a game changer. Just win. But idiots being idiots have to make up silly arguments. And it's no different than real life. You walk into a bar, you see your buddies, they're a couple drinks in, and they're arguing about who's better, Sonny or Cher. You know what I'm saying? I mean, things like that. No. No. We don't need any of that in our life. I don't care what Drake Maye is. It's simply this. Cam Newton does not like the fact that a white quarterback has come in and helped a white coach win games in New England after New England fired a black coach, and he's taking shots because he's a child. And he's in. I'll let Bobby Barack talk about it. Here's our friend Bobby Barack. Credit where it is due. Robert Griffin III has become more a voice of reason in recent months. As a result, race idolaters like Ryan Clark have tried to diminish his credibility by belittling him for marrying a white woman. That's snow, yo! Anyway, apparently a black man marrying a white woman is a negative in certain media circles. Only the idiotic media circles of fools like Cam Newton. I put that in there. Anyway, likewise, Griffin is one of the few former players turned media analysts to offer an honest assessment of the Cam Newton and Drake Maye story. This is me. Drake Maye's just playing football. And you got these wannabes on TV, these douchebags on TV like Stephen A. Smith, Cam Newton, and others trying to be critical of them and act like they're important. Hey, hey, Cam, Stephen A., you don't like me? Go over there. Get on your little TV, appeal to your little audience, and let's move it along. I got football to play. For background, Newton has spent the season trying to make an enemy of the Patriots' Drake Maye, who has emerged as one of the best in the league in just his second season. Initially, Newton dismissed Maye's success as fool's gold. It's just all racism. That's all this is. That's me putting it in there. Last week, he doubled down by declaring Maye a game manager and not a game changer. Oh, I can't believe Cam Newton said that. Oh, what a slight, as his team has the best record in the AFC and they're rocking and rolling. But, Cam, you keep wearing those cool hats, man. I know there's some bobby pins in there, Peaches. Anyway, many former players in the media, and this applies right here, are intellectual lightweights who lack the knowledge and work ethic required to become credible analysts. Instead, they attempt to build their careers by antagonizing the fan bases of elite athletes. It's also obvious, predictable, and desperate. That's Cam Newton. I said that on Twitter. It's not a matter of Cam Newton being smart or dumb or good ex-player or not. It's a matter that he doesn't have a personal pride in doing a job well done. Just doesn't. Yeah. By the way, May produced a season statistically superior to Newton's 2025 MVP campaign in nearly every commonly cited category. By Newton's all definition, that would make him a game manager who flamed out of the league by his early 30s. That is. Anyway, let's not forget, of course, let's not forget Stephen A. Smith called May a liar since May didn't know Cam Newton was on ESPN's First Take. I mean, you give idiots enough time, they're going to show you to be idiots. I didn't know Newton was on First Take. I just thought Newton had a podcast. I haven't really paid. He came at me because, again, intellectually dumb, intellectually dishonest Cam Newton and lazy. He didn't take the time to research, and he wanted to sit down, and we said, fine, we'll sit down. What are you going to do? Cam Newton, I got 2 words for you. My ass. Hey, game manager, game changer, dumbass. Anyway, this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Whether you're starting a new routine or making player picks for the first time, trying something new can be hard. But in life and on Prize Picks, it always feels good to be right. Yes, it does. I'm killing it on Prize Picks. High-pressure playoff matches coming every weekend. Elite hoops action almost every night. The action never stops. Prize Picks lets you take control. Find your community on Prize Picks with the new social feeds feature. You can share Prize Picks picks with your friends, copy lineups from winners with a single click. Yeah, you can. Copy lineups you like, use them as an inspiration for your own pick. You can even follow Prize Picks partners like us right here and tail or fade our picks with just one click. You'd be making money if you tailed my picks. Prize Picks accepts most major payment methods, including making deposits into your account easy and quick this sports season. Download the Prize Pick app today. Use code DAKICH. Get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. That's code DAKICH. Get 50 in lineups after you play your first $5. Prize Picks. Good to be right. Hey, Colin Cowherd had some words for the pizza stain. Where's Dan Wolken when you need him? Liberal snowflakes within the college football media that are constantly pushing for inclusivity into the playoffs. Yeah, I'm not for inclusivity. Nah, I should be. I'm not. Here's Cowherd.
But again, so here's what we know about the playoff. James Madison, automatic qualifier, blown out. Tulane, automatic qualifier, right? They get that bid, blown out. Texas Tech, weakest schedule of the Final 8, blown out, not competitive. You would hope this would be instructive going forward for the committee. Let's stop this nonsense. That everybody, let's be fair. It's been always one of my knocks on the college football media. And I understand newspaper guys tend to kind of lean left and inclusive and everybody. It's football. Football's not inclusive. It's for big, strong, a lot of violent guys, size, force, speed, raw talent wins.
There you go. See, I want the best teams on the field. That's what I want. I want the best teams on the field. Like, I don't give a damn if you got to include James Madison. If they're one of the best teams, put them on the field. That's it. You know, that's simple. But I understand there's politics to it. I do. And the politics from the left-leaning college football media is simply the same as the politics in politics. They want inclusivity. No, they really don't. They just have to say that. Here's the deal. This is exactly how it should go. Give the entire thing to the folks in the desert. Give the entire thing to Las Vegas. Enough with these crusty old white dudes. Enough with these guys that coached 1,000 years ago. Give it to Vegas. Tell Vegas, here it is. Do your algorithm, do your thing. Set the numbers 1 through 12. Set the matchups, and let's go. Same thing with the NCAA tournament. All the drama of, here's a live look at the committee. and Jim Nantz weeps openly, or the guys on ESPN, you know what happens in that. Billis complains about the seating. Vitale complains that more little guys didn't get in and got screwed. I mean, it's dull. It's played out. It really is. It's played out. Anyway, long story short, that's the deal. Give it to Vegas. I don't care about what that idiot, that clown Heather Dinich has to say. She's proven herself to be wrong. I don't care what I don't care what any of them have to say. People I will listen to is Urban. I'll listen to Saban. Anybody else, why would I listen to them? No, give it to Vegas and let's move it along. Don't even mess around. Same thing. NCAA baseball tournament, give it to Vegas. Unless there is a clear win-loss record, and that win-loss record puts you into the playoffs like Major League Baseball, NBA, every other sport, NFL, when it's subjective, do yourself a favor. Give it to baseball. Give it to Vegas. Don't even think it over. Get rid of, we're in the suites in the Hyatt and with the committee. No, that's bullshit. Give it to Vegas. Here's what Sam Newton of Awful Announcing says. Cowherd is saying the blowouts happened because media members wanted to be fair. Oh, really? Media members, you ain't never wanted to be fair to smaller programs instead of honestly evaluating whether teams like James Madison, Tulane, and Texas Tech could actually compete. I mean, I don't know. They had a chance and they got their ass beat. I mean, what could actually compete? I mean, you watch that Tulane game, you watch the James Madison game. I didn't see the Texas Tech game, but you watch those games and you knew in the first 5 minutes these were blowouts. What more do you need, Sam? I mean, I get it. Sam, there's bitching the bitch, but they played the game. They got their ass beat. Then people, I'm not saying all people, I'm not saying they're even right, but people will make the assumption that, you know what? These lesser conferences aren't good enough and thus shouldn't be in a 12-team playoff. It ain't that hard. They played. There's your result. I mean, Sammy, baby, come on now. You know, right? Anyway, long story short, Sammy, instead of honestly evaluating, we did. We watched. We evaluated. He did. He watched. He evaluated. Hey, while you're here, hey, we got over 8,000. Let's get to 9. Make sure you head on over to youtube.com/@sign don't at me with Dan Dakich. So like, comment, and subscribe. That way you'll never you'll never miss any of our great content, and you'll feel free to argue with one another, cuss, bitch, whine, moan. You know how we do. Anyway, we get a kick out of it. All right, how about this? The New York Football Jets hired Aaron Glenn. And for a variety of reasons, Aaron Glenn was universally said to be the next big thing in coaching. And I never know. I don't know. What do I know? How the hell do I know? But anyway, the question now comes to this. Was this year's New York Jets squad one of the worst NFL teams of all time? I got my phone right here. I got the numbers. My crack staff, they gave me the numbers. Gang Green's disaster of a season came to a crash and burn ending. It did. Getting pummeled by the Bills, ended up 35-8, which is closer than it actually was. Yeah, I know there's the 08 Detroit Lions, 2016 Browns, 0-16, both. Anyway, but just I got the phone here. Let's take a look at the breakdown of what the New York Jets were able to accomplish this year. It's impressive. However, it's impressive for all the wrong reasons. This is Ryan Morick of Fox News. The loss marked the first time an NFL team has ever lost 5 consecutive games by at least 23 points. Now, that's important because let me read that again. The first time an NFL team has lost 5 consecutive games by a massive amount, over 3 touchdowns. That right there puts you in the conversation of worst teams in NFL history. It does. That right there. I got more. It had not been done in 4 games since 1972. Their point differential in that span is minus 134, an average of 26.8 points a game. They lost by 27 points a game. They lost by 4 touchdowns and a missed extra point. Think about that. Now, that's what I'm saying. I understand people will go to for that kind of thing, but I'm making a case. I'm making an argument, as they said in A Few Good Men. He's making a case. The exclamation point, though, and this is good. This one I got to pull it up here. Was that the Jets finished the season without an interception. None. 0. Zip. No interceptions. That, ladies and gentlemen, is an NFL first. The San Francisco 49ers actually set a record earlier this season, dating back to 2024, by not picking off a quarterback in 15 consecutive games. But that streak was snapped, and the Jets made history, taking it to a whole nother level. And to add fuel to the fire, yesterday I had a chat with Urban Meyer, and he said Todd McShay's the best evaluator of any of the pundits. Well, here's what McShay had to say about the Jets. Said not a single player in this draft wants to be
or the
a New
representative,
York
the rep
Jet.
for Dante Moore. Kind of reach out to the Raiders and say, hey, my client's trying to make a decision. We can live with going to 30 of the 32 teams. Maybe it's 31. I can't allow him to go to the New York Jets. And I realize in 2027, maybe he's the 7th pick or the 5th pick, or maybe he's the first overall pick and the Jets have all that ammo and they can get him there. But I can't allow him to he's got an opportunity to go back to Oregon, probably make the same amount of money that he's going to make in his rookie contract. Phil Knight will make that happen. So I can allow my client to go back to Oregon and have another season with a new offensive coordinator because Will Stein's going to Kentucky, or you can pretty much promise me that he's going to be the number 1 overall pick. Is that so far-fetched? Because
it's not, but we're
not one single player in this entire draft, unless they grew up a Jets fan or have some kind of family tie, wants to be a New York Jet.
Think about that. Think about your franchise where you're paying millions of dollars for somebody to play football and nobody wants to come. It's like Bobby Brady and the Brady Bunch was so ridiculous. He had a party and nobody came. He had a birthday party. Nobody came. What? Anyway, to add insult to injury, I don't know if you saw this, but Pittsburgh got into the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers, well, he's at the controls of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They got a division champion. Remember back in the day when Aaron Glenn demanded that Aaron Rodgers fly into New York and met with him for 10 minutes, spit in his face, told him to get out. Karma is a mother. Here's Ant. Just a reminder. Aaron Glenn made Aaron Rodgers fly to New Jersey, spit in his face, tell him he wasn't good enough for the Jets, the most pathetic head coach and franchise to ever exist. And then they included the owner, Woody Johnson. All right, let me ask you two guys. Is there a worse franchise in sports? So I'm going with the Pirates, Sacramento Kings. Are the Jets, Davey, the worst franchise for a young guy to go into in all of sports?
No. Right now is awful, but I mean, listen, I watch the Browns have turnover after turnover whenever it comes to their staff. I can't put they're both bad, don't get me wrong, but I would put the Jets there. I don't want to put the MLB in that conversation because Major League Baseball needs a salary cap in my mind. I know a lot of people push back on that, but when you have a structure where it's like, if you suck, the NFL wants you to become good with how they have their entire organization, the league structured, and yet the Browns and the Jets cannot figure it out. But I would give the edge to the Browns.
What you got?
I can't say the Jets are the worst team or franchise to root for because they have community. The Jets have a community in misery, and they like talking about how bad the Jets are, and they like talking about how miserable they are. And I think that means something to the fans. Like, if you're a Washington Wizards fan, who are you talking to about that team? Who are you sitting around in a group chat, hollering with your buddies, talking about what's going on with the squad? No, they're terrible. They're awful. NFL, I'd say the Raiders are worse because they abandoned their city and they're still bad. And every home game is an away game because fans want to go travel to Vegas and see them. So there's no home loyalty, new stadium, terrible team. Raiders are worse.
Man, yeah. I remember John Gruden said the problem with coaching in Vegas is the home team travels, or excuse me, the visiting team travels too well. They travel too well. You're going to have half the stadium rooting for the Colts because all of us degenerates flew out there to go to the game, right? And people in Vegas don't really care, people that absolutely live there. Let me ask you, go back to this, Davey. It is professional football. It is the culmination of a dream for kids growing up. If you love football, I love basketball, I wanted to play in the NBA. Do you believe that Jets, or do you believe that college kids, like McShay said, none of them want to go to the Jets? Do you believe, or do you think there's enough out there to go, man, I don't care, I just want a chance to play NFL football? Where are you at with McShay's statement?
I would disagree with McShay. Now, granted, if you got your option, they're definitely low on the list, but I think there are a lot of players that would love that opportunity because if in the mindset of a player, you want to be the guy that turns a program around. And even though they've struggled to do that, I would still think there's quarterbacks out there that have that mindset of, no, I can be the solution to the problem.
What do you think? I agree with that. I agree with that. I think that a lot of guys that get to that level are like, screw it, I'm going to turn this. You haven't seen, Shedeur Sanders, right? I'm the one y'all been waiting for. What do you think, Sean?
I think more quarterbacks should pull an Eli and not go to these terrible teams and just hold. Hey, I'll go play in the UFL for a couple years till a serious team wants to get me.
No, get out of here.
They're ruining lives, Dan. The Jets are ruining lives. I know that Zach Wilson, I'm still waiting for that comeback story. But if I'm talking to my agent and he's saying, hey, New York's really into you, man. New York, I think, they're positioned to take you. What am I doing? What is it? I got 3 years in the league. I got an injury coming my way. I got fans hating me, and I got the number one media market in America turning on me because I couldn't save them and their toxicity. I wouldn't go play for them if I was a quarterback. Any other player position, sure.
Is there another team in the NFL, Sean, that you would say the same thing about?
Browns. I would have previously said this about the Jacksonville Jaguars before Trevor Lawrence signed with them. Who else will kill a quarterback? Washington used to kill a quarterback real good. Before Jaden Daniels, they had like a 20-year stretch where you just couldn't play for that team. It wouldn't work. And maybe the Raiders. The Raiders don't have a good quarterback. You haven't had a good quarterback in years too.
Davey, last thing. Who wins first? Who wins first? Who gets a playoff win first? Las Vegas, the Giants, the Jets, the Browns.
Giants. Giants have a decent enough roster, and I really like what I've seen from Jackson Dart. Now, I would put the Raiders second in that conversation because I do think they're going to get Fernando Mendoza. And listen, I think there's enough in that organizational structure with them bringing in Tom Brady. I like John Spytek, their general manager. They're going to get it turned around. And the biggest reason why I'm a little bit down on the Raiders is just because the division they play in is so tough. When you look at the Chiefs aren't going to be down forever. Mahomes is going to come back. Broncos look great right now. The Chargers are really good. It's going to take a little bit of time, but I do think once Mendoza gets in there, you give it 2 to 3 years, and you'll have the Raiders back in the playoff conversation.
Sean, what do you think?
Giants get it first. Raiders second. I'm with Davey there. Raiders pass the other teams on the rumblings that if Mendoza goes there, then there's a possibility, and this is total hypothetical, Cignetti goes with them and completely turns around the Raiders. And we got a double whammy. IU Hoosiers going and saving Las Vegas. And if that happens, I think the Raiders are definitely competing. I am, and I'm kind of rooting for it, Dan. I'm not trying to hurt you here, but I've seen some of that. It's making me excited.
I was sitting, this true story, I was sitting in talking to Fernando Mendoza's uncle and on a plane flight. He was behind me, and his thing was, he's going to the Raiders. I mean, so unless something stupid happens, he is going to be the first pick in the draft. Cignetti, man, I don't know if I'm Cignetti, I don't know to want to jump into that crap. It's not a good track record for college coaches. We know that. That's the obvious. But I don't know if I want to jump in. Tom Brady, no Tom Brady. Is the owner still Mark Davis with the haircut? Yes.
Yeah.
I don't want to be involved in that at all. Hey, go ahead, Davey.
I'll give you some comfort, Dan. Cignetti's not leaving Indiana. You look at what they've done in the transfer portal already.
Right.
He's got that team loaded up for next year. He's coming back. There's no reason to fear Cignetti making the jump to the NFL.
I agree.
He's
None
prepping it for the
whatsoever,
next
but
guy.
it's a good theory, Sean.
I'm rooting for it. I hope it happens. I hope they throw him $1 billion.
Yeah, I'll be sad. Michele Tafoya, there's a lot going on in Minnesota. We'll talk to Michele Tafoya next. Minnesota, the city of Minneapolis, the governor, Tim Walz, certainly in the news, as is our next guest. Michele Tafoya, you know her, you love her, not only from NFL sidelines, but also the Michele Tafoya podcast. Let's get right into this. This Somali fraud, a 23-year-old YouTuber, he goes and finds all this out. Is it your impression that the government, i.e. Walz and others, Ellison, are complicit in this, or are they just that stupid that this all just happened right under their nose? Which one you think it is?
I think certainly Ellison. I mean, we have him on tape. There is a tape of him talking to some of these groups, some of these leaders who are complaining that they're being sort of looked at and, put under the microscope, and Keith Ellison saying, "Don't worry about it, I got your back." And, we can always just say it's racist if people come after you. If Tim Walz didn't know, I find that extremely hard to believe, but there's a lot about Tim Walz that is extremely hard to believe, and yet we see it, right in front of us every single day. I think he is stepping down from his campaign because he knows he can't win, because he knows he is way too embroiled in this, and it is going to be a drag on his entire party. So I don't think that's going to excuse him, and I sure hope it doesn't, because, look, 6 million Minnesotans were basically told, we don't care about you. We're gonna overlook this fraud for this small minority of people that are committing it at your expense, and the rest of you can just kind of pound sand. If Minnesotans aren't rightly pissed, they aren't opening their eyes to the reality here that billions of dollars, and it's not just Minnesota money, it's U.S. taxpayer money, went overseas, went to buy luxury cars, homes, jewelry. And this money was supposed to be going to child care centers and autism centers and adult daycare centers and food for kids. And none of it did.
How well known was this? It sounded like an 18, maybe a news channel had it, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, how well known? And, mainstream media, I think they're starting to cover it now, but they didn't for a long time. How well known is it among just normal people now? Did people know? And now that it's come out, is it a big story in Minnesota?
Oh, it's huge.
Good. I
mean, it's huge. It's the reason Walz has to step down from his campaign, and many people are still calling on him to resign. So this isn't over for him. Look, there's a channel here. It's a conservative outlet called Alpha News, and the main anchor there, Liz Collin, is a good friend of mine, and she's been covering this for a long time. But it's like shouting into the wind, because if the mainstream, the Star Tribune here, which is our New York Times, our LA Times, it's the Minnesota Star Tribune, if they don't cover it, then the vast majority of the state doesn't see it. And only lately have the television say, look, Tim Walz was vetted to be vice president of the United States of America, and they didn't bake this in. They didn't see this. That to me is astonishing. Like, how could you vet this guy and not see that this state was just muddled in fraud? It's unbelievable to me. So yeah, this story, it's bigger than just the fraud. It's about the cover up. It's about the media just turning the other way.
Who vets the vetters? You know what I mean? Like who vets the vetters?
Wasn't it Eric Holder who vetted Tim Walz? I think that's what I heard.
It was the same guy that when he was attorney general, he said, "Yeah, I'm here to protect my boy." Literal quote about Obama.
Mm-hmm.
So that clown's been a mess forever. But back just real quick, do you think what's the sense of anybody having, other than to resign from a job, what's the sense of anybody going to jail or being prosecuted or any of that stuff?
Well, we know that there are many people who have been prosecuted and are in jail now, and the bulk of them, like 90% of them, are from the Somali community. Okay, so when people say, "Oh, you're picking on the Somali community," as my friend Alexis McAdams reported this morning, it's in the paperwork. Okay, it's in the paperwork. So those are just facts. Facts don't care about your feelings. Those are the facts. So those people have been prosecuted and are in jail. But you're talking, I think, more specifically about people like Keith Ellison and Tim Walz and the people in the government.
Yeah.
Well, it certainly seems like the Department of Justice is hot on this story and determined. And, now that it's breaking open here, you're starting to hear stories about Maine, about California, about Illinois, about some of these other states where, here's the issue. The welfare, Dan, gets so massive that it's easy to defraud it, that it's so big that you can hide $1 million here and $1 million there. You can, there is so much. For instance, my head is about to explode. Someone asked me yesterday, are you more upset about the money, the taxpayers being robbed, or the lack of morality here? And I think it's both can be true, right? But it's the lack of morality. It's that people that we elected, that we said, we're placing our confidence and our trust and our faith in you to represent us, to run the government efficiently and with a moral compass. You said, basically, go to hell to us. And you let this happen. And the morality of that's what gets my blood boiling more than anything. You know
what gets mine as much as anything is the gaslighting, the bullshitting.
Yeah.
The telling us, I'm stepping down, blah, blah, blah. That's starting to drive me nuts, and that's all I ever see.
Yeah.
The deflecting.
Yeah. Hey, remember, the border is closed.
Right.
The border is secure. We're getting it from all levels, and we're getting it from mostly career politicians whose livelihood is to stay in power and pull a paycheck from the federal or state or local government, right? By the way, Keith Ellison, our attorney general, who I'm sure that the DOJ has their sights set on what his involvement is. He has a son who's a member of the Minneapolis City Council. A Minneapolis City Council is basically Zoran Mamdani light, okay? And this guy, Keith Ellison's son, is still pulling his paycheck as a council member, even though he's off studying at Harvard. Yeah. So I'm not sure how that works either. But no matter how you slice it, it doesn't seem like these people have our best interests in mind. The vast majority of Minnesota.
Well, you mentioned it's also my tax dollars coming from Indiana as it's federal money as well. And that, all right, where's Omar in this? Where's she at in this whole deal? And clear this up. Did she, in fact, marry your brother? Clear that up for me.
I wish I could tell you exactly what happened there. I think it has been, so I don't want to say for that 100%, but it has been alleged and detailed that in order to gain her citizenship here, she married her brother, or for him to gain citizenship, one or the other. But she is now remarried to a guy who's got a winery in Napa, who has some sort of lobbying he's got all kinds of financial interests, and their net worth, Dan, in the last 3 years has gone from like minus 25,000 to plus 30 million.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how you have a return on investment like that in a normal family business. That to me is very, very, where there's smoke, there's fire there to me. And, those numbers are just outlandish. So I think that, every stone is being overturned and looked under at this point.
Is she the de facto leader of the Somali community?
Yes, yeah, here in Minnesota she is. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, so there's no chance logically. Now, maybe something illogically happened, but there's no chance logically that if in fact there is fraud, her hands are clean. There's no way that there's no chance.
It's hard to imagine when
right?
you think that all these COVID dollars that came to all states, and here in Minnesota, this massive Feeding Our Future scheme, which was to provide meals for kids during COVID. It didn't. Maybe a couple. But $250 million was stolen. And that's where the most of the, if not all of the arrests have come from, is that case, that Feeding Our Future case. So these autism centers, these adult daycares, these daycare centers, these all of these other things tied to Health and Human Services. See, when you have a government agency like Health and Human Services, and they decide that, not only do you need food, you need shelter, you need a car, and all of that needs to be subsidized by the government, this is where fraud comes in. So again, it's this massive welfare scheme that leads to all of this fraud. And so I've heard from so many people in government with access to the evidence, that this is the tip of the iceberg.
See, my thing is this, all right, and this goes back, I don't know, 10 years when the Southern District of New York went on TV. We got coaches in the NCAA's playbook. This is the tip of the iceberg. And then really nothing happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that sticks in my mind. Like, will we see something happen? This is on, correct me if I'm wrong, we've already seen some Somalis arrested. That's fine. That's good. Should be more. Trump saying deport them. But I guess, is there, in your mind, is there legitimate law enforcement with teeth in Minnesota with judges that you feel will stand up and say, if we have the evidence on Walz or Ellison or Omar or whoever else, the city council, they will go after them? The Chicago, you don't, right?
Right,
I mean, they let all
right.
this stuff. You get my point here. I don't know
get
if
your
I'm
point.
stating it
I
right.
don't think it's going to be local. I think it's going to be federal.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be federal. But I hear what you're saying about lack of accountability. Like something like a big story like Hillary Clinton and her emails, right? And her smashing phones. And we had IRS scandals of targeting conservative groups, all of these years and years back. And you start to pick at them, and maybe someone steps down or resigns, and you're going, but wait a minute, there's got to be more accountability than that. You can't just let that person kind of ride off into the sunset and say, okay, now that you're out of the way, we'll move along and forget about it. I mean, I think people are so tired of this lack of accountability. When the average Joe working for a company, if he embezzled from his company, he's going to jail.
Right.
He's going to jail. So just because, I love how people like Letitia James and others say no one is above the law. Apparently some people are, because some people have gotten away with a lot of crap that the average person wouldn't. And that's just wrong.
I mean, there's reports on you running for political office. I'm not saying you got break news or anything like that, but are you interested in that? Is that something you currently are exploring seriously?
You got to look at it. I go to my daughter's soccer games. I go to my son's baseball games. I go have coffee with friends, and everyone's like, why don't good people run for office? Well, we know why, right? It's tough to stomach. But this whole episode has really enraged me. And, I'll look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. When does a decision have to be made? You know, when do you have to say, all right, I'm either all in or I'm all out? What's timeline?
I don't know. Stay tuned. I don't know. I know what you're getting at here, Pally.
What am I getting at? I'm just curious. Like,
Let's talk about your Indiana Hoosiers, man. I have this question for you in all seriousness.
Yeah.
Because I went to Cal where we, never won anything.
Yeah.
And now you guys won basketball championships at Indiana. You're very familiar with that. But what is it like to go from being kind of not even on the football radar to all of a sudden you get the Heisman Trophy winner and you just had that quarterfinal win that's putting you in the semifinals on your way to potentially net? That's got to be sort of like a culture shock.
Yeah, it's funny. My wife, myself, my stepdaughter, my daughter, we went to the Rose Bowl. And I mean, I'm not bragging, but people come up to me at Indiana. They want to take pictures. They want to talk. Okay.
You're Dan Dakich.
My people, they're like, my daughter's like, Dad, every conversation you're having is the same. I know. It's like, hey, Dan, how you doing? Hey, Jimmy, how you doing? Can you believe we're here? I can't believe we're here. Like, I mean, who'd ever thunk? Our line for the trip was, who'd have thunk it? Yeah. Like, who'd ever thunk that in 2 years, our sorry ass? And then after the game, walking out, it was like a celebration slash, did we really do what we just did to Alabama? Right.
Did it feel like kind of there was this fog around you and you're like, did that just happen?
Like, but really, I've always said this, and I tried back in the day, I called this vice president to get Urban Meyer to be the head coach there when we were at Bowling Green together. He was a football coach, I was a basketball coach. We lived next to each other. And they blew me off. They're like, okay, little Danny, you played here, but you really don't know anything. Get out of here. And they've gone through a myriad they're losing his program in Power 5 football, and now they're second. But so the point is, the fans, I always said Indiana was ready to explode if it could get going in football. It was, honest to God, Michelle, it was 80-20 Indiana. It was unbelievable how many Indiana fans were there. You barely saw it at Alabama.
Wow.
And it, we're hoping Cignetti doesn't go with Mendoza to the Las Vegas Raiders but it's cool. It's unbelievable.
It's great. It was neat during the telecast. I'm sitting there watching with my husband and they showed your play-by-play guy who's been there, your radio voice.
Yeah.
He's been there forever, right? Yeah. Since the 70s. And they're commenting on, he's got to be thinking, this is unfamiliar territory. And it was really a neat way to sort of remind people about where this program has been, which is basically nowhere, and to kind of make people enjoy it with you, that you are in this rarefied air all of a sudden. Yeah. It wasn't over 5 years, 6 years. It was like, boom, and it's really, I think there are a lot of people in America who are cheering for Indiana.
I was there 17 years, and I went to every home football game, everyone that I was in town for, whether it was as a player or as a coach. If I was in town, if I wasn't, honest to God, Michelle, I stayed for 1 second half. In 7. And that was that Cignetti had to overcome that early because that was a tradition at Indiana. We went to the game, we left, went to the parking lot, had a great time. Hey, we win? Yeah, we lose. Oh, okay. And the whole thing is just awesome. It is. It's just unbelievably awesome.
Well, I enjoy it because this is kind of, you've got this moment, right?
Yeah.
This kid Mendoza, there's something about him. And then when he comes out of the game, his little brother comes in. It's like, are you kidding me?
Oh, it's unbelievable. Yeah, it's
good stuff, man.
Let me go to this. You covered the NFL for a long time. Can you remember anything in the NFL happening so quickly, going from, Colts went 2-14, drafted Andrew Luck and went 11-5.
Yeah.
Made the playoffs. I don't know. Is there anything you can think of in the NFL like that? That quick,
I remember
that good?
that Patriots year, that the first year that they went to the Super Bowl with Tom Brady was pretty like cool. And wasn't that after 9/11? And so when they ran on the field at the Super Bowl with the flag and stuff, and it was really, I want to say that's what I'm remembering, and that they were the Patriots. So everyone was like really behind the Patriots. I'll say the 49ers, whom I grew up suffering with for many, many years of my childhood, being dragged to games by my dad. And then, Joe Montana comes along and Jerry Rice and the whole bit, and boom. So those are the only two that I can think of in the NFL. I'm sure there are others that I'm forgetting.
No, it's fascinating. Hey, I appreciate you coming on. A lot going on in Minnesota.
Oof.
I need indictments and I need perp walks. That's what I need, Michele.
We'll try to deliver. I think it's going to be the White House that delivers that to you, the DOJ. I don't think it's going to be, certainly not going to be our mainstream media here.
Last thing before I let you go. How influential, I'm guessing I know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway, is or was the Somali community in getting Walz and others elected?
Very, and very in the Minneapolis mayor's race as well. In fact, listen, there are even fissures within the Somali community, self-identified as clans within the community. Some wanted Jacob Fry, some wanted this other guy, Mohammed Fatah, if you remember, he was running, and Jacob Fry ended up winning. And now he spends a lot of his time waving the Somali flag, dancing to Somali music, and hanging out with the Somali community. He relies on them as a voting bloc in Minneapolis. And I guess the rest of us can just, watch.
Man, appreciate you, Michele. Thank you.
Be well.
There she goes. Talking about Indiana football, Somalis. I mean, we got it all when we got Michele Tafoya on our air. I love it. I do. And I want to see arrests. This has me infuriated. The gaslighting just has me nuts. We'll be right back. For 9 years, Chris Ballard has been the general manager of the Indianapolis Colts. And in those 9 years, they are well under 500, have never won a division while every other team in the league has. They've never been really competitive in the playoffs. 2 playoff appearances, 1 playoff win in 9 years. Generally, that gets you fired, but not here in Indianapolis. Carlie Irsay, daughter of the late Jim Irsay, took over the controls, and many inside the organization felt like this would be different. It's not. Carlie Irsay, for whatever the reason, kept not only Ballard and his awful record, but Shane Steichen and his 500 record. Again, they missed the playoff 5th straight year, but they kept them. Now, you got to understand something about the Irsay family. They're morons. They're insane. Jimmy Irsay would get on there and mumble something about nobody's coming into our building if all chips aren't in, and then the Colts would go 8-9. Carlie Irsay yesterday laid out her vision, and that vision included this: a sense of urgency has never been higher. That's it. I don't blame you fans for being pissed. I'm pissed, and the sense of urgency has never been higher. Really? I would assume a sense of urgency is always high in an NFL operation, particularly, when you have fans paying thousands of dollars to go to games, tens of thousands of dollars for season tickets, suites, that kind of thing. But Carlie Irsay let us know. She let us know that she's bringing back these 2 absolute awful at their job folk. The worst drafter in the NFL is Chris Ballard. The softest coach in the NFL is Shane Steichen. Steichen, in his end-of-the-year press conference, not understanding that the Colts have pissed away for 4 straight years, games at the end of the year when it became tough. He didn't talk about toughness. He talked about camaraderie. We got to develop a camaraderie. What? A camaraderie? What are you talking about? Well, let's hear from old Carlie herself. Here's Carlie Irsay on what gives her confidence in Chris Ballard.
James Boyd, The Athletic. Carlie, when you look at Chris in particular, I know you said you have confidence in him to get it done, but where does that confidence stem from when given his entire resume, there hasn't been a lot of success. 2 playoff appearances, 1 playoff win, and 0 AFC top titles.
So that's similar to what I think Steven said, or asked me, which I think is, do you look at 1 year or do you look at 9 years? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I guess. How much do you look at the entire resume, and what do you look at within those 9 years to give you confidence that a 10th year, a 10th try will be the year that it goes better for this franchise?
Well, I think you have to look at both, and then obviously I think what Chris knows and Shane knows is that the sense of urgency this year has never been higher to be able to win and finish games. I think we made a lot of progress, but we've got to be able to win and finish games.
How do you think that message has been received by them, or what have you done to maybe express that to them, that it's never been higher than this upcoming year versus even last year, saying it was pretty high?
Well, the sense of urgency is higher than last year.
I mean, that's it. Sense of urgency. That's all you got. Good for little Jimmy Boyd there for actually asking a question worth, wow, my guy Stephen Holder, my God. That DEI hire, he stumbled to the point where he finally said, I'm asking a dumb question. I mean, it's embarrassing, the media and Irsay, but that's all they got. See, now people are thinking she really said a lot there because sense of urgency means she's going to fire him if they don't win. Well, good. I mean, duh. The guy Gannon just got fired, same class into the NFL as a head coach as Steichen. Here is Carlie Irsay approving of fans being pissed.
And I mean, yes, that's why I want our fans to know I hear them. I mean, I'm pissed or pissed. You know, it's not good enough. It's not up to the standard of what, you know, and it would be, I wish I could hear what my dad would have said. Or tweeted potentially, but but no, certainly I think, you know, I think we have a great culture in place. We have guys that care so much, and our family, like we continue what our dad's always done. We have great relationships with our players. We play their asses off this year, but at the end of the day, like, you know, our fan, you know, we understand and we want to validate that, and you know, that's, like I said, the sense of urgency to deliver on what we promised is, sense of urgency goes for us too. It could not be higher.
That's all we got. That's a great culture. Here's the culture of the Colts. This is the culture. Relationships. That is, and it's been said that by the general manager. We're all about relationships. They're not ever do they talk about toughness. They never talk about winning. They never talk about developing or improving, which is why in this regime, they fold at the end of every year. I mean, I'm talking about every year. 8-2 this year, 7-1, folded, lost the last 7. Last year had a chance to make the playoffs, lost the last couple games. Year before that, against an interim coach for the Las Vegas Raiders. I may have the years wrong. They had a chance to just win a game at home or win a game against a terrible Jacksonville team, and you go to the playoffs. They lost those. Year before that, same thing. 5 straight years, opportunity to make the playoffs, haven't done it. Why? Because they folded at the end. That's culture, ladies and gentlemen, and that culture is set by the general manager, Ballard, and it is absolutely not about winning. It is absolutely not about toughness. And then, as I said, you have the most overrated, overblown, softest coach in the NFL in Shane Steichen. When he talked about camaraderie, playing for one another, that's typical Colts. That's simply typical Colts. Never about toughness, never about winning. If you're a college coach, you could talk about camaraderie, developing men. NFL, you got 17 games, you either win, you either lose. They never discuss that. She's the worst owner in sports. She's the most ridiculous owner in sports because, like the Somalis, wait for it, in Minnesota, who take money, that's what she does. There's no expectations placed on the Somalis. There's no expectations placed on the Colts. There's no accountability for the Colts general manager, for the Colts coach. They are loved in the national media. That Dumbass Mina Kimes said it was wild, her words with eyes, that I didn't believe in Shane Steichen. Of course I didn't believe in Shane Steichen. I watched him. I coached. I mean, Mina Kimes wouldn't know a football from a bag of sand from a bar of soap. Of course she thinks Shane Steichen because he's a nice guy. But he's the softest coach in the NFL. Bar none. Woke-a-dope me. Let the Somalis defraud us. There you go. There's a little chip. Release the narco dictator. That's right. If Donald Trump cured cancer, people would be waving flags saying, let my cancer kill me. You have no right to cure cancer. We all know liberals are nuts. Next. It was easier to capture the leader of Venezuela than it was to find a kid in a Minnesota Somali daycare. Again, liberals wasting our tax money. What are we doing? Remember when they told us the border was closed? The gaslighting is insane. Good for Adam Hunter. Next. That's exactly right. These teachers with their rainbow flags and their purple hair and trying to transition kids, reason to homeschool. Man, I'm so glad my kid's old enough to be out before these clowns got in. God bless you, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.